What's up, everyone? This is Goldilocks, former TNA backstage interviewer, manager, and you're listening to TNA Cross the Line podcast. Thanks for being here.
TNA Wrestling, Cross the Line.
And we're back with episode 256 of the TNA Cross the Line podcast. I am Bob Colling Jr. With me, as always, is Dallas Gridley. And boy, oh boy, Dallas. We just watched No Surrender. And it might be a new era. When you're looking chronologically at the history of TNA, you could probably break it apart in certain aspects. And this might be another part where you want to separate. Because arguably the biggest name to jump ship. Sure, he was technically fired. I mean, he really didn't have anywhere else to go, but he still technically jumped. Kurt Angle has officially joined TNA Wrestling at the end of No Surrender. Kurt Angle appeared on the big screen, put a mouth guard in, and he screamed. He yelled, saying it's true. He's like, ah! So Kurt Angle is here in TNA. The biggest name thus far. Yeah, bigger than Kevin Nash, bigger than Scott Hall, especially in 2006. I think he's in his peak. So this is a pretty big development. So Dallas, how are we feeling about Kurt Angle? And I'm sure there is going to be an insane amount of news coming out of No Surrender.
Oh, yeah, Bob. This is insane. It's real. It's damn real. Kurt Angle, the Olympic gold medalist, has come to TNA. We talked about it actually quite a bit at the end of our No Surrender episode when they made the announcement of how big of a deal this is. This dude was just on WrestleMania. He is a bona fide main eventer. He's not an old legend that really no one cared about since, like, 98. It's Kurt Angle. This is a big deal. And I agree with you completely. This is definitely going to turn into a new era of TNA. And I think even, I don't know, off the top of my head, when I do think of like the biggest signing in like TNA's history, I kind of think Kurt Angle.
Yeah, I mean before Kurt Angle, I mean, what could we say was like Jeff Hardy, but he was like a mid-card guy.
I feel like, oh man, this is tough. Because you got like the big, let's just call him the big four here, Bob. You got Jeff Hardy. I just blinked. Christian Cage.
Christian.
Sting.
I already forgot about Christian.
Yeah, Sting.
Kurt Angle's here, and I
Kurt
forgot.
Angle.
Oh, Sting! Jesus Christ, Bob.
These four are for a company that was running weekly pay-per-views, and basically every single week we've been reading the notes that say they're going to close any day now for 4 years. These are huge. Obviously, like Sting and Jeff Hardy made appearances before they were signed. And which is cool, but like Sting was like, I just did it for a favor for Jerry. I didn't want to do it. Well, here he is. Jeff Hardy kind of had nowhere else to go. I mean, he was suffering from some addiction issues and stuff like that, and TNA kind of like helped him and brought him in. And unfortunately, it was a pretty lackluster run in hindsight, which is the nostalgia was really living in me for all of that. But Christian Cage did feel like a pretty big deal that when he left the WWE, he came over here. He kind of bet on himself, really. And I would argue that in hindsight, Christian Cage's TNA run helps him when he inevitably returns in the WWE become more of a main eventer.
Without question, it does. Now, I think before Kurt Angle, you look at it two different ways. Sting is probably the biggest acquisition in this amongst like wrestling fans.
Yeah.
And then Jeff Hardy would probably be one in terms of a casual. And I'm going to say Jeff Hardy was probably bigger than Christian just because of Hardy's style, the Hardy Boys. I mean, popularity in general, yeah. But also the context of like when Christian jumped in November, he had a lot of momentum in the sense of like the Captain Charisma thing, and the fans were really kind of behind him on SmackDown. The whole John Cena feud, which he has said on record, like when they added Jericho to the match at Unforgiven or whatever it was, that he knew that he was done, that there was just no way, that they didn't see the value in him in a singles way. Like he wasn't a draw. So, yeah, I think that would maybe be the best way to look at it. Like Sting amongst the diehards, like, whoa, he's here. Because I don't know if like casual fans would really care about Sting. And by casual, I mean like the fan that watches just WrestleMania.
Yeah, but I feel like Sting is iconic. Like people know who Sting is. It's the face paint.
I'm telling you right now, if I were to go walking down the street and be like, "Hey, do you know who Sting is?" Yeah, the singer.
Wow. Yeah.
That's what they'll do. More times than not, that's what people will say.
And that's true.
Now, in that same breath, if I were like, "Hey, do you know who Jeff Hardy is?" They'd be like, "No."
Right.
More than likely.
Although that's a weird one too. There's people who know who Jeff Hardy is who always kind of are surprised. I'm like, what? Like, how do you even know who that is?
There's been several times where
face paint, man. I'm telling you,
where people will. A lot of my like friends that are very casual will bring up Jeff Hardy in the Undertaker ladder match.
Like that's weird. That's really weird to me.
That's a match that they will always bring up. And it's a damn good match, and it should have been a breakout for Jeff Hardy, but Jeff Hardy had various things going on that kind of prevented that from happening. But yeah, that's the match that they really talk about. That or him dangling from the ladder at WrestleMania 17.
Yeah. Yeah, but needless to say, Kurt Angle is this is going to be a big one for us. I can't wait to find out when we get to see him live. Are they going to hold it till Bound for Glory? Are they going to do any more, or maybe more vignettes or something on Impact? I don't know. I feel like they show the vignette on No Surrender, but how soon do you bring him on TV? Because now you've built the excitement. So do you try to pop a rating? Do you wait and be like, hey, his first appearance is going to be at Bound for Glory? I do believe Dave actually talks a little bit about this too. I think we'll talk about it once we dive in. But I think it makes an interesting situation for TNA here.
Right.
But I guess, without further ado, Bob, unless you have anything else to add, I think we can kind of dive right into some of this Kurt Angle stuff. And as always, we do our No Surrender recap as well.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, let's get it going.
Okay. Well, before we, I'm going to forget if I don't do it first before we start talking. So I believe, Bob, you and I enjoyed No Surrender. I think we gave it a thumbs up. Did we? I think so.
Well, you're the one that always writes it down.
I do write it down, and I didn't pull it up because I'm always pretty positive we like the shows, but then there's always one or two that it kind of sneaks past. I think that you were up in the air first, and then you decided to say that you enjoyed it.
I think I gave it a very slight thumbs up.
Yep, and gave it a thumbs up. So, what do you think that the readers of the Wrestling Observer newsletter thought about it? Did they give it a thumbs up, a thumbs down, or a thumbs in the middle?
Well, I think any show that has Samoa Joe beating Jeff Jarrett in a Kurt Angle debut, I'm going to say they probably went thumbs up.
Yeah, so the majority did give it a thumbs up, 51.6%. So it's slight, though.
Okay. See, just like me, very slight.
Yeah. And just for number-wise, that was only 47 people voted that. 14.3% gave it a thumbs down, or 13 people, and 34.1% were in the middle, and that was about 31. So we always talk about like in there in the middle. It's generally positive, so
Yeah.
there is more in the middle than down for sure. So I guess that is a win regardless.
Yeah.
As far as the best match, what do you think got voted on for that?
I'm gonna assume Ultimate X.
Yeah, landslide, like 90 people. That's it. Best match on the show. Ultimate X. Daniels and Styles versus LAX. Now, what about the worst match?
All right. Hang on a minute. I gotta go look at the card because I don't even really remember. Eric Young and A1.
No,
What?
that was in third place.
What? Okay. What the fuck? What would be?
If you remember what happened during one of the matches, you might have a better guess.
Oh no, PD and J.
Yeah, 46 people voted Jay Lethal and Petey Williams the worst match. And we will talk about it, but if you guys don't remember, they did a laxative spot. And Petey was going to poop his pants in the ring. In second place was the Tag Team Battle Royal with 19. So
yeah,
that kind of covers all that. Yeah, it's kind of like sad to see like those two names as like the worst match. Like
yeah, no kidding.
that sucks, dude.
Yeah, that does suck. But you know what? Vince Russo's back on the writing team. So
don't you guys? When I say today is a big news day, this is a big news day. I'm gonna try to get through this as quick as I can. We got Kurt Angle, we got Vince Russo, we got No Surrender, and then whatever else there is. I think I saved pretty much all the rest of it for the show because there's enough.
Okay.
I think at least I was doing these very late the other night, but okay. So the October 2nd, 2006 Observer newsletter, it is titled "Kurt Angle debuts in TNA." And then, of course, she starts going over the Bound for Glory card, which we're not really going to talk too much about that because we're going to be watching the shows. And probably the best kept major secret in the entire time that Dave says he's been covering pro wrestling, a video clip of Kurt Angle showed up at the end of the September 24th TNA No Surrender pay-per-view. That sentence is insane. The best kept secret he's ever heard.
Well, yeah, because he was reporting that Kurt Angle was absolutely never going to go to TNA.
Correct. And he even points out stuff like Eric Bischoff's appearance on Raw was kept a very like a pretty good secret from almost everyone, but like everyone knew that the sides were talking business over a year ago. Even Lex Luger's appearance on Nitro, he said, which is similar as far as presentation, but like everyone in the know did know that they were talking. So this is huge. I mean, it's actually fascinating because even the week before, like Bob just said, we were hearing he's got no interest, doesn't want to go to TNA. I mean, that's like unprecedented. Like to keep a secret like that, like that's wild.
So when you were reading that report, I was thinking, and I don't think I said it, but usually like a wrestler will say that to divert your attention. That way, when they are there, it's like, oh
right,
shit.
Right, which makes sense. But it's interesting because apparently it fooled enough people at the time that they really just did not think it was going to happen.
Right, yeah, and it wasn't even a comment from Kurt. It was like from people around Kurt. Right, yeah. Like it was never like Kurt Angle told me he's not going.
I'm pretty sure.
That's what I think it was.
Yeah. Now, it does note here that people affiliated with Angle, yeah, here we go, had told me TNA was the one place he wasn't interested in. Look at that. It's the next sentence.
That's crazy.
It went as far that Dave Hawk, who is Kurt Angle's manager, during the week announced that Angle had retired as a pro wrestler and was going to become an MMA fighter. Now, of course, after pulling the swerve, now you have to be skeptical of anything from Kurt Angle's side.
That's right.
So that's like that's the pro and con of doing this.
Everything you're saying is such a wrestling carny thing to do. It's like, I'm retired. I'm not coming. I'm not doing this. And by the way, I'll see you. I'm there Sunday. Screams it.
How are you one of the best wrestlers in the world at the time, especially, and then be like, I'm retiring?
Yeah, I mean that just makes it more unbelievable.
Come on.
And it would be more believable if he like retired and then was like, oh, I've signed a 3-year contract with UFC or something.
Yes. Yeah, but
there's
didn't
not
do that.
even that. So it's like,
No.
what are you doing then?
Yeah.
Like, come on.
Yeah. Now, in addition, TNA announced that it would be moving starting on November 16th. That's going to be the end of the Ultimate Fighter season, by the way. They're going to be moving to 9 p.m. Eastern on Thursday nights. Now, with Grey's Anatomy and CSI, not to mention some college football for the first several weeks, that is the toughest time slot of the week for TV. And worse, on November 23rd and December 30th, it goes head-to-head with NFL games on the NFL Network. And NFL is one proven thing that hurts pro wrestling and UFC bad. The show is slotted as a regular 1-hour show, although the first show is going to be scheduled for 2 hours. So we got a 2-hour prime time coming up, Bob. The replay on Saturdays at 11 p.m. will continue. There will be other 2-hour episodes before the end of the year as experiments. Obviously, if the 2-hour shows are successful, the show would likely move to 2 hours early in 2007. This is part of a major commitment by Spike to the product, including following the success of the UFC Countdown shows. They have added 1-hour special at midnight on October 21st, the night before the Bound for Glory, as a countdown to Bound for Glory. So they're going all in here, which is kind of cool.
So what I'm kind of taking from this is that if they can maintain their rating now at 11 and get that at a Thursday at 9, if they can get like a 0.9 to like 1.2, considering the competition that they're dealing with, that's got to be seen as like a victory, right?
I would have to think so. I mean,
they can't be expecting like, oh, you're gonna get a 2 point something. There's no way. Especially football that will be damaging. There's no college or pro, it doesn't matter. That is gonna murder you. Yeah, that'll be tough.
Skipping ahead here a little bit, just so everyone is aware too. I pointed out the date of the Observer. There is a lot of Dave rambling in this newsletter about the UFC and Spike and about some of the Kurt Angle stuff. If you want to read all of it, I'd highly recommend you check it out. It is very, very in-depth, but for the sake of our show, we are going to be focusing on the highlights. Now, in addition to all of these other announcements, TNA made a booking change, taking Mike Tenay, Scott D'Amore, and Jeremy Borash off the creative team and replacing them with Vince Russo. It will be a 3-man team, with Russo, Jeff Jarrett, and Dutch Mantell deciding on the direction, and Russo and Mantell as the co-writers. Russo is another person who had publicly claimed that he would never work in wrestling business again after a religious conversion. But several months back, it was kind of known that Terry Taylor, that son of a bitch, was pushing for Russo to get back in. After the disappointment of 3 weeks of bad ratings, even with the UFC lead-in, and with the September 14th show having no excuse of a competing show like Video Music Awards or the opening of the NFL season, the decision essentially was made. So ironically, though, if the ratings somewhat bounced back on September 21st and had done it a week earlier, it is doubtful the change would have even been made, or at least not at the moment. So if we just had one little rating boost, it could have been avoided for now.
Yeah, so, I mean, I don't know, man. Russo's kind of proven that he can't work well with others.
Right.
We've done this rodeo back in the Nashville days, too.
Yeah.
And one of the things with the Nashville days that kind of maybe benefited Russo was really week to week, it could have been anything. There was no, real true structure to things. Like things would drastically change, almost by segment to segment. Now, when you're on when you're doing television, there's a little bit more structure. And I'm wondering if the structure part is like more Dutch to kind of keep things going. Like he's more of a traditionalist.
I think
Yeah, go
my
ahead.
favorite thing about like Russo coming back after 2000 to book wrestling is it's funny because he's like, look at the success I had in the Attitude Era and this and that, and I did all this great stuff in the WWF. But then, like, did anyone watch what he did in WCW? Any of it? Because I
Right.
feel like that would have burned all credibility, but it doesn't because people like Dixie Carter are like, oh, he did good back then. He was drawing 6 million viewers or whatever it is, and so like they have this aura of like he is so good, and then but then the Asylum was a very interesting time as we know, but like I still think there was more good than bad generally, but like I think for a TV show when you put bad on a TV show, it's going to be hurting a lot worse.
Yeah. I think so. Like his whole thing usually with WCW, and I'm not using the specifics because I off the top of my head I don't know, but he'll be like, bro, they were at a 2.5. I came in, look at the 3 months, got it to a 2.8 average. Look at that, bro. Look at that, dude. Then they send me home. I quit, whatever. Go back down to a 2.4, bro. Then I come back with Bish. Go back to a 3.0. And then we just steadily go down, bro. Standards and practices, bro. That ain't my fault, bro. Bro.
With Bish.
Yeah. It's like, come on, man.
Well, the thing is, like, you and I have both talked before, like, in a previous episodes in the archive about the Asylum and stuff, that I think that we don't always hate his booking, but
No.
he definitely has some things that make it very questionable and hard to be like, hey, I actually don't mind what he's doing. Like, he'll counterbalance, like, oh, he did something kind of good here, and we like it, and then he'll, like, do something so fucking stupid that it just, like, ruins everything.
Yeah. I mean, I think he has really explicitly been like, I'm not a booker, I'm a writer. So
Okay.
when you say writer booker,
Interesting.
writer is like the angles, the storyline, that stuff. When you're a booker, it's more like the decision making of this guy's going over, this guy's doing that. So he's really kind of distinguished that quite a bit.
Interesting. Okay.
I think what we'll notice a lot more now moving forward, because really he is involved in the writing from here until I think to what our projected endpoint would be for this podcast. So he is involved creatively till the end of our era.
Okay. Okay. I don't know if I knew that or not.
Yeah, so like we're gonna see, I would imagine, a lot more stipulations will be thrown in there because I vaguely remember him being like, fans don't want to see just a wrestling match. They want to see something else to grab their attention. That's why there's that, the long running joke of like polls. And he's been like, bro, I didn't even do that many polls matches. And then I went through and there was like at least 14 that he did, which is an insane amount for a poll match. But
Got us to put stuff on polls, dude.
yeah, he did like his poll matches. But yeah, no, I don't know. I don't, I think that, so he started right before No Surrender, technically. I think like the 21st, it said. And that show was on the 23rd. So this is really going to be the first impact of hits.
So, and we're going to talk about that a little bit too, because technically, I don't think he had a lot of influence in No Surrender. Now, as we talked about on the show, there was a couple. We're going to talk about it. We have a decent amount to get into still, and we're going to be jumping back and forth between Angle and Russo, and then we'll get to No Surrender, and I think it's all kind of talked about. But
and I will give Russo credit. Now, when you look at like WCW 2000, which you watched from April until the end of 2001, right?
Yeah, I watched all that.
All right, so from April 2000 till about early October, Russo's involved in that. He made sure that almost everybody had something going on. There wasn't a wasted character.
It's true. I mean, there was a lot.
It's pretty phenomenal. Like Big Vito is involved in like something, or Kiwi is doing something.
Queewee.
There's a purpose for a lot of these guys. So you can give them that. Now sometimes the angles might like kind of bleed in together, and it's like that's very similar to what they're doing here. But to his credit, like people were actually doing things.
You remember Bruce?
I loved Bruce.
Yeah, that's good stuff. Throwback. Check it out in the archives.
But looking back, that's such like an underrated TNA character that they could have done so much more with.
I like the team.
Oh yeah, Bruce and Lenny.
Yeah, dude. I like that a lot.
I always liked Lenny Lane. I always thought that him being like a Chris Jericho impersonator and like tricking people, that was great. You could have done more of that in WCW, but whatever. Doesn't matter.
Is what it is.
It's 25 years ago.
Yeah.
Let it go. Bob.
Yeah, you gotta stop now.
Yeah.
Okay, so according to TNA officials, the Kurt Angle deal, put together by Dixie Carter and Angle, with the only people in the company knowing about it being Jeff Jarrett and the company's CFO. So no one knew about this, essentially. Carter had asked a few weeks ago, basically, to rank Bill Goldberg, Kurt Angle, Chris Jericho, and maybe Brock Lesnar in the order of their potential benefit to the company.
Oh my God. I'm really curious to see how this goes.
Yeah. Apparently, this was a prelude to making a big play for one of them. It is believed, although not known for sure, that Angle was the one favored. Which, knowing their track record, is actually kind of shocking. It was incorrect that Angle had a non-compete clause with WWE. WWE did pay him as if he had the non-complete clause until February, but had decided to sever all ties with him. Whether they would not have done that if TNA was, in their minds, a potential option for him is an unanswered question. They figured he would wind up with big money offers coming from Japan and MMA, and while I'm sure those who were looking out for him in their own minds hoped that he wouldn't do that, from a business standpoint, they probably felt they couldn't stop him from doing either in a non-compete due to what likely outcome of the Lesnar case would have been. We talked about that a little bit, I believe, as well. Now, Kurt Angle came to Nashville on September 20th, days before the show, to film secret vignettes in a local warehouse. Now, TNA did not even allow its regular television crew to film it, using a different crew, making them sign confidentiality papers, and filming at midnight. The only thing they did get out was that they hired several local independent workers to set up a ring, paid them well, and made them sign confidentiality agreements as well. But none of them saw Angle, and they left confused, believing that nobody even got into the ring that they set up. Kurt Angle also apparently wrote a 6-page handwritten thank you letter to Carter that day, which apparently she was touched by. Angle did not come to Orlando for the show for fear that someone would see him on an airplane, although he and Carter were talking regularly throughout the night on the telephone. And then it's not really a spoiler because it's backstage, but at TV the next day, which we're about to start watching today, Christian was claiming to the wrestlers that he talked to Angle on the phone and he sounded fine, since there was a lot of questions regarding his condition. Because of course it's known at this time that he had a addiction issue.
Right.
Now during the show, almost nobody was let in on what the surprise was. It was obviously probably more talk within the company than amongst fans. They did not mention on the final television show that there would be a surprise, as the show was taped ahead of time. And for that reason, even with the internet talk about it, based on our response, the hype itself led to negligible effects, even for the buyer of the show. Now, historically, similar promises of something to change the landscape being announced on pay-per-view have never drawn. So it's not like it probably would have really helped. And he points out a couple examples. But now there are so many variables as to what this will mean. With Sting, it was a short-term boost, but in the long run, it didn't matter that much. The company's ratings are now lower, on average, than before Sting came in. But the buy rates are also down from pre-Sting levels after peaking in his early shows. Now, Angle is more current. He's also a big risk, though. Now, if wrestling, in particular, was a business that wanted to cleanse itself of some awful problems, companies wouldn't immediately hire people that the other company dumps for the fear of drug issues. You can't take what Angle says publicly about anything seriously, since he publicly claimed that he was going to rest and listed assorted injuries and made it clear he wanted to come back to WWE but needed time off, and then that he was quitting wrestling for MMA, and now he's doing a 180, saying he wasn't happy in WWE and thanked Dixie Carter for saving his career. So at press time, Kurt Angle is scheduled to appear live on the October 9th TV taping in Orlando, which puts his TV debut likely on October 12th. He's also booked for the October 22nd Bound for Glory show. So we'll see what happens there. Now, a major advertising campaign is expected to be built around him, perhaps with the catchphrase, "The ring has 6 sides, but only one angle." To me,
no fucking way. Get out of here, dude.
It's awesome. It's so awesome.
Dude, math teachers are going to love that.
No, it has 6. There's 6 angles. Dave says to him, it would make the most sense to not have him air on television so that the pay-per-view is the debut,
right,
and debut him on television on November 16th, backed up with a major ad campaign to build a tell-all first interview to establish the new time slot. Not a bad idea by Dave there.
I don't hate that.
Yeah. Interesting note that Kurt Angle's contract is non-exclusive, which means he can do MMA. Both Hawk, Angle's manager, and TNA officials have confirmed that much regarding how the deal was structured, but we don't really have too much other details besides that. And Hawk even says that TNA is a working business passion that he wants to do, but he still also wants to train for MMA. And I'm pretty sure, Bob, correct me if I'm wrong, spoiler alert, I don't think he ever does any MMA.
No, never.
So he might train, but he doesn't do it.
I think he might actually get hurt while training, but I don't think he actually, he never does an MMA fight.
Gotcha.
I don't even think he ever does an exhibition.
Not to my knowledge. Well, he does with, doesn't he do it with Jeff Jarrett? Anyway.
Well, yeah.
Oh, man. That's going to be sad that we don't see that. But anyway.
Yeah.
Dixie Carter, Dave mentioned that she should be commended from a business standpoint for putting the biggest deal that she got, she got the guy everyone wanted. She put together a huge deal. So he giving her some props here. Now, of course, in TNA, travel is minimal and the number of matches is low. The problem is that is the next catch-22. For Angle to make a real difference in TNA, he's going to have to become a can't-miss performer, both in and out of the ring. With WWE, he could get away with taking it easier in his matches, doing 1-minute squashes on television and only taking a few bumps on house shows, and saving his big performances for a few TV main events and pay-per-view shows. He probably wouldn't like it, but he could get away with it, and at times when the company was worried about his health, that's how they booked him. In TNA, his drive is going to be where he's going to want to be the top worker in the company, just like he was driven to be, and many felt he was, for much of his tenure in WWE. He's going to want to have the 5-star match with Samoa Joe. He's going to always be in the main event position, and thus not only want to give the main event performances, but will want to be counted on to do so. The TNA style is more dangerous than WWE style on a per-match basis. In WWE, the younger guys don't feel the bumps as much and are held back and taught a slower style for a number of reasons. In TNA, nobody is held back in the ring other than being limited on time. And while the ultra-competitive Angle won't be competing with as high level of true workers to be the standout top dog, he'll be competing with hungrier guys who compensate for that by doing so much more and taking so many more risks, and who are generally more spectacular. In the end, Kurt Angle will be the best wrestler in TNA, or he'll die trying. So pretty good stuff.
That sounds pretty accurate.
Yeah, and I'm sure we're gonna see that very quick.
Yeah.
There's already stuff off the top of my head. I'm like, yeah, he kind of does fucking go kind of crazy, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does.
Yeah. One would hope, at the very least, that TNA, both to cover itself and for Angle's own good, starts a drug testing program. And he kind of goes into depth about people who've, Jeff Hardy, and he points out Shane Douglas and stuff like that. And he kind of goes through WWE's whole thing. So I'm going to skip ahead a little bit here. We're getting close to No Surrender, guys. We're getting close.
Yeah.
So he mentions that hopefully the statement about Sunday night being a night that will live in forever in history and changes the very fabric of the business is not prophetic, or at least in the wrong way. So he talks, hopefully in the long term, it is a very good thing and it doesn't turn bad because of his issues at the time. Now, I have Kurt Angle's actual statement, handwritten on a hotel notepad in Nashville, that he wrote following his vignette. So Kurt Angle wrote this. Being with TNA, this is also kind of funny because he just shot a vignette. Keep that in mind. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
Being with TNA feels like I have finally found my home. I had fun in WWE at certain times, but I was never really happy. Now being a part of TNA, I know I have a purpose. I feel like I am part of history, part of a company that is not only on the rise, not only going to be the #1 watched wrestling show in the world within a short period of time, but TNA gives me an opportunity to spread my wings. The company has no limits to where it can go. The sky's the limit, and the main reason is because they brought the real back into wrestling. And that is a perfect fit for the greatest wrestler in the U.S. Olympic history. I have room to grow here and to help TNA grow. Working for these caring and very giving employers of TNA makes me feel like I have a purpose. And that the sky is the limit. I don't feel trapped or held back like I did for the first 6 years of my tenure with the other company. They held me back. Now our wonderful audience will see the real Kurt Angle doing what I love to do, real wrestling. And that's what puts a smile on my face each time I come to work. I even smile when I think about it. TNA will be the most watched television show on cable television. It's only a matter of time. Now I get the opportunity and privilege of being part of it. Thank you, TNA, for saving my career, my life, and my desire to do what I love. I will be here in some capacity for the rest of my life. That's real. That's damn real. Kurt Angle.
Hey, so what is he doing here in 2024? Nothing.
Although I will point out, when we met Kurt Angle, well, I met Kurt Angle. You didn't come with me, but he did tell me how much he loved TNA. It's in his heart, man.
Yeah. So there's a lot going on in that thing. So number one, he sounds just pilled out because he's repeating the same thing 4 different times, it seemed like.
Wow.
I'm happy. I was held back. The sky's the limit. There's no holding us back. We're going to be the most watched TV show. I mean, he said that like 3 times. Secondly, the amount of times throughout his TNA career where he's like determined that the show will be the most watched, he moves that measuring stick so many times. There's one time where he's like within a year, and then it's like by the end of 2009, and then it's like maybe, you know what, by 2011. It just, and that never happens for a variety of reasons. Yeah, I don't know. So it's going to be interesting because we've talked about this before off air about, you know, when is really Kurt Angle's peak in-ring ability. And obviously he had some absolute classics in WWE. Like there's no denying that. But when you really look at the complete year, or the complete Kurt Angle career, this TNA run is smack dab the prime of Kurt Angle, of what should be the prime of Kurt Angle.
Right.
So, and then when you look at the various talents that are in TNA, it's just like, oh, okay, this guy could be having some absolute banger matches. Not that he wouldn't be having those same banger matches in WWE, because obviously there's some great talent there too. But the TNA talent is, you know, a lot younger, probably more open to doing riskier things. So that'll be pretty interesting. I always wish that he would have showed up in Ring of Honor. But
I feel like he should have made at least an appearance.
He should have done it. He should have done at least one. I vaguely remember like Gabe saying like he wanted to do Kurt and Danielson.
Holy crap!
And for whatever reason that didn't happen. But I probably would have been like, yo, here, take what you need, and we'll get this going.
Take my $20 and
yeah, literally.
That's crazy.
That would be a show where I'd be like, all right, Dallas, let's show up 4 hours early. That's fine.
It's okay. We can do it.
I'll allow it.
Well, Bob, we're gonna pivot now. We're gonna talk about Vince Russo a little bit, and then it's time to finally break down No Surrender.
Oh God. Okay.
All right. So Vince Russo, if nothing else, is rarely subtle, and that's why it was a shock that his return was never even mentioned on the TNA No Surrender pay-per-view on September 24th. So we kind of dip in a little bit about No Surrender here. But the show was not quite a throwaway. But the big show was Bound for Glory, of course, coming up on October 22nd, with Sting putting his career against Jeff Jarrett, Jarrett's NWA title in Plymouth, Michigan, near Detroit. While it didn't appear to help buys based on a response, there's no question among internet fans that there was more interest on the big surprise or surprises as opposed to any of the matches. Now, Russo, as I mentioned earlier, is one of 3 on the committee. The negativity of the 5-man committee is that it was nobody's pure view. You got more ideas, but a lot of it came down to voting. Generally, Jarrett was steering the direction, as he will do now. Anything he wanted, he was going to get the automatic approval of Mantell and Borash, and it wasn't like it was a lot of 3-2 votes, as much as everyone contributing ideas, with Jarrett usually making the final choices. It will be the same thing here. For the most part, the TV ended up based around Jarrett, and if that changes, it's going to be Jarrett making the calls, not Russo. Russo and Jarrett, of course, they're best friends in the WWE, and we all know how their WCW time went together, right? He was Russo's go-to guy, blah, blah, blah. Now, Russo originally booked in secret when TNA started, though everyone in the company completely denied that he'd ever worked there except Jeff Jarrett, who defended him, saying if Russo had an editor, he'd be okay, with Jeff Jarrett thinking he'd be the editor.
Okay.
So, yes, I know Bob mentioned earlier, if you're new, if you never listened to our Asylum years, our weekly pay-per-views, it was heavily influenced by Vince Russo. It was a secret for a while, and there was lots of drama involved. And we're going to talk about part of that again, too, in a second. But anyway.
It was like a secret for, 6 months? Because he appears, I think, on or towards the end of 2002.
That sounds right. I can't quite remember, but...
Isn't he involved in, Jarrett winning the title from Killings?
Oh, is that
November?
what it is? That might be right.
Because he's got, the white mask and everything. I'm pretty sure that's what it was.
Yeah, it might be right.
Back then.
Dave mentions, I thought his TNA run was bad. I mean, it was good material to write comedy reviews after the show because the booking was often so ridiculous with the lack of sense, continuity, and overall stupidity. But in fairness to him, the entire TNA concept at the time was unworkable. Weekly pay-per-views with no television show was an idea that had no chance of success. Perhaps if he wrote TV, the masses would have liked what he was delivering, and he'd have been a success. I strongly don't believe that. But you also have to concede to the fact that it didn't draw any money the last time was due to circumstances where drawing money would have been impossible. All I know is that the product took a major turn for the better every time Jerry Jarrett was booking. Russo's run with TNA ended when Hulk Hogan had agreed to come to TNA, and his big stipulation was that Russo had to be gone. So Russo was iced out and mad at Jarrett, telling friends that he was booking was impossible because 80% of the time the booking meetings were devoted to the ways to get Jarrett over. Eventually, Russo found religion, vowed to never work in wrestling again, and then he started promoting shows at churches. But evidently, they were never that successful because he had stopped doing those a long time ago. Skipping ahead a bit here. So, once again, with Russo, it is said to have killed any chance of getting Goldberg. Although negotiations had not gone well because Goldberg won't do anything without huge money at stake, Dixie Carter did send him a message that she would offer Goldberg the, quote, Sting deal. Now, this was before Angle, not after. So things may have changed because who knows how much money the company wants to spend on talent because Angle could not have come cheap. And Goldberg hadn't seemed to have shown much interest. Goldberg's mentality on TNA is that he would love to be with the company that he can be part of that will be able to be competitive with Vince McMahon, but he doesn't want to waste his time if the group won't be able to compete. Signing Angle would have certainly gotten him more interest. Signing Russo likely overrides that. Jarrett and Mantell are still going to have the 2 of the 3 votes. Hopefully that reins in stupidity, if there is any. And the negative is, if any part of the problem is Jeff Jarrett on Tom, that isn't going to change unless Jeff Jarrett makes the decision to. Russo confided to people that he only had 1 vote, felt handcuffed, and that any changes would be a slow process. Now, the television tapings on September 25th were said to be exactly like any other tapings. So we might not see anything major on our first episodes here today. We'll see.
So he's going to gradually try to...
I think it's going to be a very slow build.
Yeah. That might be a good approach because I remember like in 2002 when he went with... he signed with WWE and they were listening to his ideas. And his first immediate idea, allegedly, is... Let's do the invasion again. But with like Hogan and Goldberg and, have the actual guys there. And they're just like, yeah, we just finished that like 6 months ago.
It was just done.
Yeah.
Although it is kind of funny because when I guess like Vince brought the NWO in, that's after the invasion, isn't it? That's like decent.
Absolutely is. So they finished the invasion. Yeah, no, they finished the invasion at Survivor Series 2001 and at No Way Out, which is in February, so 3 months.
I mean,
lethal dose of poison. It's the end of it.
See, that is kind of weird.
Yeah, I know, but so like I think Russo's there in like May or June, and maybe even earlier than that. But then he's just like, yeah, why don't we have the NWO, we can get Bischoff, we can have Goldberg, and then like Goldberg's there a year later, Flair.
Right.
So like at its basis, like
that's interesting.
It could be interesting, but then you're rehashing a storyline that you just
right. You know what I would have done? The Millionaires Club.
There you go.
Honestly, though, that could have worked. Maybe. Anyway,
who knows?
You never know. Anyway, moving on. Those who had problems with Russo in the past, like Jim Cornette, were told that he's a changed man. Cornette didn't quit the promotion when he got the news, but was quoted in a newspaper article saying he didn't think both of them were going to last in the company for any length of time. He told Jarrett and Mantell that he had loyalty to them and didn't want to leave them, but he would not work with Russo. He would not take any direction from Russo and didn't want to be even anywhere near him. As long as Mantell produced his segments, he had no interaction with Russo, then he would have no trouble. Even though Cornette made it clear that he wouldn't associate with Russo or work with him, Russo, through intermediaries, asked to be put in a room with Cornette to talk it out. Before that, Russo totally avoided him. Cornette refused the offer, saying his deal was to work with Mantell. So he has no interest. Which I'm sure we can talk about that whole feud as we see them on TV, but
yeah, they
fucking hate each other. So
I think it's more so Cornette hating Russo.
It's more okay. Yeah, I mean, fair. I mean, there's on the Dark Side of the Ring episode, he said he can't wait till he dies so he can piss on his grave or something. He said.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, I was like, oh, okay, it's pretty fucking harsh.
Yeah. I mean, Russo had to get a restraining order because Cornette was like, "I'm gonna come to your house and kill you."
Okay, you got to feel for Russo.
And it's like, what are we doing? It's wrestling. Like,
yeah. I don't even know why they hate each other as much as they do, to be honest with you.
A lot of it is the Jim Ross Bell's palsy thing. And then also Russo is just not your traditional wrestling guy. He sees it as entertainment. He sees titles as props. And like Cornette sees titles as like the be all end all.
Yeah. You're right. I did know that.
There's two different philosophies.
Yeah. Okay. So we are, this is kind of the influence of No Surrender. And it's our last little chunk before we can do a very quick rundown of the show. So the two big changes made in the pay-per-view by the new creative committee was changing the planned Chris Sabin title win over Loki. That match should be saved in a time capsule for wrestling fans 100 years from now to see as the definition of a finish ruining a very good match. So, As Jay Lethal and Sonjay Dutt threw a blow-up doll into the ring, the entire crowd started chanting, "This is stupid," as they ruined what had been hell of a good match. They also changed plans for the LAX to keep the tag team titles, putting them back on Daniels and AJ Styles to keep the program going. The old direction was to try to build the weakened X division with Daniels and Styles as its big stars. See, I said this. I said that, by the way.
Yeah.
For the hope that the 2-hour television show. So they wanted to put them back there for the 2-hour television show. Figuring they'd have time for weekly long matches to showcase wrestling, and LAX was going to end up facing the Naturals, who, by the way, had no chance of getting over. Now, it's more likely a long show will showcase more angles, and TNA already does too many angles, usually badly rushed, to where most have no impact. They also changed the order, as Jarrett and Joe was actually changed to the main event spot, and LAX was furious about this because Ultimate X was going to go on in the main, and used it as motivation to have a great match, with the idea that as good as Joe is, they were going to do a match that Jarrett couldn't follow. I think they did it. And it was universally said after that, aside from the angle announcement, they stole the show.
Mm-hmm.
Agreed. But the old Russo in the first TNA reign is gone. TNA can't go in the sleazy direction like little people in trash cans beating off. And an announcer copping a feel of the breasts of one of the women. And by the way, if you didn't know, they did both of those in the asylum.
Right.
Russo has said after finding religion that he would never go back to booking in that direction again. And the only thing notable at this point that Russo did not follow the product while he was gone. So he has not been paying attention and didn't know most of the personalities in the company. So first thing is going to have to get him up to speed. So
yeah, that makes sense.
So yeah, it's going to be very interesting. But, Bob, after all that, we've made it to the No Surrender recap. We are only roughly 50 minutes into the show.
Well, this is going to be a long one.
Yeah, but I think that after we do this, everything else is during the show, and honestly, there's not a lot of it. So it was a heavy hitters in the beginning, but I think that's to be expected after such a major announcement.
Yeah, no, for sure.
So let's try to power through this. The No Surrender show was notable more for the angle announcement than anything on the card. The show was decent, but TNA is in a position where decent isn't good enough. The main storyline was Samoa Joe beating Jeff Jarrett in a non-title match and stealing the belt on his way out. I don't remember that part, to be honest with you. The tag team title change with AJ Styles and Christopher Daniels over LAX was the show stealer, and the undercard was largely just there, filled with matches most people would forget about by the end of the night. Fair. The show on September 24th drew the usual packed house of 900 fans in Orlando's Universal Studios. In the pre-show, which we did not see, Bobby Roode pinned Von Doring, who is Joe Doring, if you're a more current Impact TNA fan, in 4 minutes, 28 seconds, a roll the dice style neck breaker. Doring looks to be about 6'5", 275 pounds, and towered over Roode, which is way too big to be a jobber. Roode has gotten a big TV build, but the fans didn't react much.
Well, his only build has been with vignettes about a man.
I know.
So I don't think they would have a major.
No, they wouldn't. The first match of the night, Eric Young, who has apparently just been fighting all of his former teammates, and I just never put that together until this match happened. He pinned A1 in 6 minutes and 14 seconds. Fans were chanting steak sauce at A1. Referee Slick Johnson is now in pants, and he has been removed as a TV character, as has Earl Hebner, as both simply anonymous referees again. So apparently, that's dropped.
That's been dropped. Okay.
Apparently.
Because we mentioned it too. It was like, wait, Earl's back. Before he was like homeless and like, I know more information, and now nothing.
Correct. We kind of alluded to the idea that maybe he's off the hook because of the Jarrett lie detector thing. At least say that if that's the case, but
tie up your loose ends and then just move on.
Right. Young won with a wheelbarrow diamond cutter. A1 is still pretty green, he says. Young came to the ring with fans running around him, and he gives this match 1 star.
Okay.
Next up, Jay Lethal pinned Petey Williams 7 minutes 24 seconds. This was some kind of awful. First, Lethal's music played with Williams in the ring and he never came out. They went backstage to show him playing video games and Jerry Lynn had to yell at him to get to the ring. The story was that Lethal, Sonjay Dutt, and Chris Sabin had put laxatives in Petey Williams' water, and oddly enough, Petey Williams came out with a water bottle, like of course he does every week. Just kidding. No, he doesn't. After a few minutes, the announcers and wrestlers were selling that it stunk in there, and like Williams had shit in his pants.
Oh my God.
Now he looked embarrassed, panicked, would do moves and grab his stomach like he was cramping. Now, none of this got over to the live audience, which made it even more painful. There's nothing more than comedy done live that nobody laughs at. Eventually, the crowd chanted, "Hold it in," realizing what was going on, and not realizing that everyone was playing he'd already shit. Lethal schoolboyed Williams to win, and he ran to the back. -1 star.
See, now I was taking it as he needed to shit, not that he actually had shit.
Okay, that's how I took it too, and that he was just like ripping ass the whole time.
Right.
That's how I took it as well. But Dave saying like, "Oh no, he shit his pants," maybe. I don't think I took it like that, but
I didn't take it like that at all.
But yeah, a -1 star is a rough one to see on a TNA pay-per-view in 2006, dude. That's rough.
And a Williams Lethal match getting a -1.
That's rough.
That's bad. But that's what happens, man. It's a horrible angle to go do.
With two guys who are like extremely talented. I don't know.
Yeah, well, you know what? But it's the stupid tie-in with Jackass. I mean, that's.
I know.
That's what it is. So.
Yeah. Next up, Abyss won a 3-way. He calls it a weapons match over Runt and Raven in 11 minutes 34 seconds. It was pretty much what you'd expect. Eventually, Raven pulled. I forgot who he pulls up. Runt to the scaffold with him, and Runt ended up going through 2 tables. Later in the ring, Raven laid out Runt. Abyss pinned Raven with the Black Hole Slam. 2.5 stars. I think there were some cool spots in it. It was what you'd expected, like he said, though. It's just a brawl and lots of cool weapon spots. But
yeah.
Next up, there was a tag team battle royal. Andy Douglas and Chase Stevens won that, and if they didn't win, the experiment would have been over with Shane Douglas. This match went 14 minutes and 5 seconds. The teams in this match were Shark Boy Norman Smiley, the Paparazzi, the Diamonds in the Rough, AMW, the Naturals, Ron Killing and Lance Hoyt, Maverick, Matt, and Kazarian, and the James Gang. Essentially, the deal was that it was going to be a regular battle royal until 2 men were left. Those 2 men could then bring back their partners, and they would do a tag team match. The only thing memorable about the battle royal is Stevens was standing on the top rope for a springboard move when Storm shoved him, and he flew over the guardrail into a row of fans who Dave says he would assume were Dory Funk students, since they knew to catch him and break his fall.
Oh, okay.
So it ended up with the Naturals and the James Gang. So James Gang came back out, and it ended up with, I think that's right. Yeah, Storm. Yeah, it ended with Storm taking over Douglas with the Whirlybird. He went to do the same thing on Stevens, but Stevens schoolboyed him out of the move. Fans did a pop for the Naturals winning, and Shane Douglas came out, congratulated them. The winners are scheduled to get a tag team title shot. The battle royal itself was pretty bad, but the tag team match was good. 2 stars. I lied. It looks like it was actually AMW and Naturals at the end. I'm sorry. The James Gang came back out because they were mad.
That's right.
So I skipped over that part. Next up, Senshi pinned Chris Sabin to keep the X Division title in 16 minutes 57 seconds. I did not know that match went 16 minutes. That's crazy.
Well, which one is it?
Sabin and Senshi.
Oh yeah, that felt like it went 16 minutes.
See, I don't know if I remember that. I could be wrong. Anyway, this blew away everything on the undercard, but the finish ruined it. Senshi beat Sabin's chest raw, and he did his trademark high-intensity spots. He used a double foot stomp off the top rope. Now, of course, we kind of already mentioned it, but Senshi was on the top rope for another double foot stomp when Lethal and Dutt came out to the ring with a blow-up doll, and they threw it in the ring and dragged Sabin out. Senshi came off like he was going to give the doll a double foot stomp and pulled short. And that's when the "This is stupid" chant started. Sabin was holding the doll, and Senshi did the running drop kick and got the pin. So not only did the babyface do something the people hated, he got outsmarted by the heel. Heel outsmarting babyface in 2006 means heel is the babyface. 2.5 stars.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that happened. Next up, Christian Cage pinned Rhino in 16 minutes 26 seconds. Crowd was kind of tired after that finish laid waste to them. These two had a good match, but it was very much so every week on Raw spots with the same exact ref bumps, false finishes, and such. The finish saw Christian use a low blow and an unprettier on the chair for the pin. 3.25 stars.
I thought that was a decent match.
It was better than I expected, I think. So.
Yeah.
Next up, Ultimate X. AJ Styles and Christopher Daniels regained the tag team titles by beating Homicide and Hernandez in 15 minutes, 29 seconds. Actually, in the first few minutes, it didn't all look that good, Dave says. Then he mentions how Hernandez is still pretty green in some of these spots, but working with smaller guys and being so strong enables him to do great power moves. He talks about all the great spots in the match. Cool stuff. Now Daniels, then in a spectacular move, climbed to the top of the scaffold, or the metal part to where the cables are hanging from, and basically as if he was further away than the ring post. So he was back a little bit. And about 12 feet in the air, he was standing on top and jumped to the center to grab the cables, and in the middle. So he had to say, I jumped 10 feet or more, Dave thinks. I was told that they came up with the spot. They never practiced it once. And when they were putting the match together, had no backup plan in case Daniels didn't catch the cable, in case he'd have crashed onto the mat with a decent risk of injury. But all went smooth. He grabbed the cables, he grabbed the belt, unhitched it, and fell to the ring. Big pop as Daniels and Styles went into the crowd to celebrate. He gives this match 4 stars.
A decent chance of injury. Yeah, no shit.
Imagine, oh my God, I don't even want to. It's like jumping and like fucking missing or like falling because you lose. I don't know. Because it's funny because we noticed that they supported the ropes, but we thought it was because of Hernandez.
Right.
And which, as you're watching, you would assume that's the case. And then they do the spot and you're like, oh, that's why. That's crazy.
Yeah. I'm just amazed really for wrestling in general that there isn't more like insane injuries with what they do.
That's the impressive part of it, right?
It's insane.
Right. Bob, the main event. Samoa Joe defeated Jeff Jarrett in a non-title match where the fans would title match with fans with straps were ringside. 11 minutes 3 seconds. After all the build-up, this was really a nothing match. Jarrett wore 3 layers of clothes early. Most of the lumberjacks that were there were actually wrestlers from the local Bang promotion. Jarrett's role should be to make Joe look special, and instead he made Joe look average, even though he put him over in the end. The finish was Jarrett on top and Joe leaping up and giving him the enziguri and then taking him off the top of the muscle buster for the pin. He gives this 2 stars. And then finally, Bob, we closed the show. Cornette came out, and for the announcement of the new time slot, as was yelling at Jarrett. And while this was going on, Joe grabbed the NWA title from the announce table and walked to the back. I still don't remember that, just for the record. But fans clapped for the announcement, but were sort of let down. And then Cornette said he made the announcement, but it wasn't the announcement. They had done the pre-tape early in the show that Cornette talking about this gigantic announcement. The entire show, it was constantly hyped. They showed a silhouette of a guy. And actually, for a split second, I'm guessing most people thought it was Goldberg. But then you saw the U.S. flag and showed Angle's face. The place exploded, and Don West screamed, "Holy shit," as they went off the air.
Yeah. Holy shit, dude. It's true. It's true.
It's true. It's true. Well, he says it's real now. It's real.
It's real.
Damn real. And that was no surrender.
Yeah, quite a bit going on.
Yeah. So, a lot going on today. We still got to watch Impact. What's going to happen after the announcement occurring? I'm sure we're going to hear about it at least a minimum of 6 times in a 40-minute show.
I was going to say in a 40-minute show. Yeah, you're probably right. All right. Well, let's get into it then. It's a September 28th, 2006 edition of Impact. The runtime for this is approximately 41 minutes, 54 seconds. It's our march to Bound for Glory, folks. I believe it's 4 weeks?
4 episodes, dude. And
4
it's
episodes
Bound for Glory.
before we get to Bound for Glory. So let's see what we're getting ourselves into for the biggest show in TNA history. So here we go. I'm going to count down from 3. When I say play, that's when we're going to start the show. If you want to watch along with us, head over to the TNA Plus app or find it in your own personal collection. And let's watch the show. So here we go. 3, 2, 1, play.
This is TNA. Are they going to show Angle in the intro now? Did they edit it? Okay, not yet.
No, not yet.
But we're starting off
That's
with
the
it.
first thing.
This is smart. This is smart. Actually, the way they shot this, I think is super cool. Like, okay, go set up our ring in his warehouse, and we're going to have Angle just look like a fucking badass.
Yeah.
It's real. So, funny story, Bob. This is at the time he's wearing the mouth guard a lot, and he's wearing it right here. When he announced he was coming, I think I might have still been playing soccer at the time. And
you were what?
I was playing soccer.
Okay.
In my youth. And they came out with, because he used to have ECW, like an ECW one. They had an iMPACT one. And I almost bought it.
Oh my god.
He probably will have it shortly, but Bob, as we're getting an opening shot of the Impact Zone here, I just want to tell you about 2 explosion matches that were filmed at this taping. First, airing on September 29th, A1 defeated Lance Hoyt. That's on Explosion 156. And on 157, airing on October 6th, 2006, Sonjay Dutt defeated P.D. Williams. No other dark matches that I noticed took place. So they just did we're back to two tapings and 2 because there's the 4 episodes. So
were there any laxative issues or?
Unsure at this time.
Okay.
Here we are. There's Bound for Glory logo in the background here. We're with Don West, Mike Tenay. Has there been a bigger week in TNA history? We're seeing some highlights. Look at this. Even real videos of the Ultimate X. Holy shit, dude. Okay, rewatching that jump by Daniels, it almost looks crazier in the angles they were showing than it did on pay-per-view.
She's like straight on, it doesn't look too great, but like on the side, it's like, oh boy.
Right. That's right. Prime time, November 16th. We are less than 3 minutes in the show. We've told you about Kurt Angle. We showed you Ultimate X highlights, and now we're saying, hey, prime time. They're hitting the bangers here, hoping to get that rollover from the Ultimate Fighter and tell people, hey, shit's about to get real over here.
As they should be.
October the 22nd. It's Bound for Glory. Jeff Jarrett, Sting. Dude, I'm getting fucking hype right now. Bound for Glory is going to be so freaking good.
And we start with Lance Hoyt. So that's interesting. We go banger, 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 Lance Hoyt.
And I think the part about that, you thought. Oh, wait, this is the opponent for Lance Hoyt. It's Jeff Jarrett wearing jeans and a t-shirt? Holy shit. Jesus. Wait, if he was supposed to actually be wrestling him, why is he dressed in street clothes?
Because he doesn't take Hoyt that seriously, or he knew he was going to beat him up from behind anyway.
Well, he's got a strap, and the bell has rung. This is an official match. Okay, I didn't expect this.
No.
They're making Hoyt look like a jabroni.
Well, he doesn't really have any momentum.
I mean, that's true. Let's see,
he peaked what, back in like May of last year with the whole Abyss thing that they didn't do?
I don't know, dude. They did the feud with Maverick Matt and Explosion.
Oh, shut it. We didn't even see any of it.
Well, it's not Jarrett directly, but I'll just tell you this now because it's related. There is uncertainty regarding Sting as far as after his contract expires at the end of the year. Obviously, Jarrett's fighting Sting at Bound for Glory here as he's choking Hoyt in the crowd now. It's big money, and he's meant very little. He's turned down a lot of booking ideas when it comes to bleeding and selling that there's frustration that he won't do angles to build heat for his matches. He's turned down things he doesn't believe are realistic. Now, the signing of Angle is said to have no bearing on what decision will be made, either by Sting himself or the company. It's not that they signed a big contract and by virtue of it feel the need to lose a big contract. So that has no it doesn't matter. It's kind of just going to decide what they want to do. Jarrett back in the ring, grabs the strap, slapping Hoyt on the back. Oh shit, he's choking him with the what's this, Hangman's Horror match?
I'm surprised the referee isn't, oh wait, maybe the referee just did. I was gonna say like disqualifying.
He just did. Yeah, he just called the match. I'm assuming. What's the official word on this? Is this a no contest? Is this a Hoyt wins by DQ?
I would take it as disqualification. There's no way it's a no contest.
Okay, it is according to Cage Match. I just wanted to make sure. You never know.
No, that's a Hoyt DQ to me. How is it a no contest? Hoyt didn't do nothing.
I'm just saying. It's Jarrett. Maybe he'd be like, I don't want it to look like I lost.
Well, yeah, I'm sure, yeah.
But he still looked pretty strong there. Jarrett rips his shirt off, dude. Look at my back. I don't see anything.
I see him.
You do?
You don't see the strap marks on his back there?
Barely.
Oh my god.
His tan is too good. I can't see.
I could definitely see it.
A few of you may
I'm
have done
holding
it,
all of you responsible.
That's awesome.
Nine-tenths of the law. Possession's 9/10 of the law.
Cornette, by the end of this Impact, the belt better be back in the hands of the rightful owner, and that's me.
That's right. I'm also supporting Jeff Jarrett today, as you guys may have heard on the previous podcast that I bought his shirt.
That's right.
Here.
Bob now owns a vintage TNA Jeff Jarrett shirt, and holy shit, am I jealous? Because if it was a size medium, I would have bought that immediately.
So to recap, I have a vintage TNA Jeff Jarrett shirt and a vintage WCW Slapnuts Jeff Jarrett t-shirt.
That's so sick, dude. Bob is low-key the biggest Jeff Jarrett fan I know. Look at this. We're doing like a press conference about the title match, but guess what? Sting or Jarrett are both not there.
Oh, it's for... I see LAX.
Cornette's voice is like gone.
What the...
Oh, Monsters Ball. Samoa Joe Raven Runt Abyss has been added. X Division title. Senshi and Chris Sabin. Okay. And the biggest single main event. Career versus Championship. Sting versus Jeff Jarrett.
Bagwell and Luger are there?
Okay, I thought that's what I just saw.
And then Rhino's up there too.
A new acquisition, Kurt Angle, is here in TNA. Oh, before tonight's show's over with, Kurt Angle's involvement will be announced for Bound for Glory.
A three-way dance?
Okay, I'm sorry, but if Kurt Angle's just being thrown in Monsters Ball, he should not be carrying around the NWA title because he stole it from Jarrett.
What do you mean?
That's done. Oh, shit.
Hey!
Oh, TNA's going to get starstruck. It's Austin Starr. Otherwise known as Austin Aries.
We actually see Austin. I'm surprised by that. Okay.
Yeah, so if you didn't know that, it's Austin Aries. Here comes Samoa Joe.
Oh, I think I have any notes. Wait. Well, actually, I have one for Jeff Jarrett.
Oh, okay.
Let me get that out first. September 22nd, NWA World Heavyweight Title match. Jeff Jarrett lost to Dennis Condrey by disqualification at NWA Russell Birmingham. A night of star-spangled banners in Irondale, Alabama. And then, nope, not doing that one. And then we have Samoa Joe. We're back on September 15th. Samoa Joe defeated Roderick Strong at Ring of Honor's Glory by Honor 5 Night 1. And then on the 16th, Samoa Joe teamed up with hated rival Homicide to defeat the Briscoes at Night 2 of Glory by Honor 5. And now that we know he's fighting Raven, Raven has one indie note. On the 23rd of September, Raven defeated Trent Acid to win the UXW heavyweight title at their Florida debut show in Orlando, Florida.
Nice.
I'm a big fan of Trent Acid. Which I believe we've seen Trent Acid one time in TNA.
I think we have.
With the Backseat Boys.
I don't know if I have really a good time to say any of the notes that I have left, so I'm just going to tell you one right now while we're looking at Raven and Samoa Joe staring off in the middle of the ring. The TNA Impact on September 21st did a .80 rating and 964,000 viewers. They were happy because males 18 to 34 did a 1.14, the best number since the end of the Shamrock Ortiz season of The Ultimate Fighter, swelled the audience for Spike's follow-up show. It had the usual post-show UFC declining pattern, starting at a .88 for the Jarrett Joe angle, falling to only a .85 for Lethal versus Williams and Young versus Smiley, and then to a .70 for Rhino versus Brown. The LAX closing of the show angle with Daniels and Styles went up to a .79.
Joe was just beating the crap out of Raven with a lot of kicks to the point where Raven was upside down on the apron, and then Joe kicked him off the apron. Oh no!
Uh-oh.
Raven's got a chair
and a chair. Is that a DQ? I guess he kind of
You
ran
would
into
think
it.
so.
He didn't. He kind of ran into it though. He didn't swing it.
Oh my God! Semantics.
Although 2 DQs in a row would have been lame. Here's Brother Runt. He, of course, referee's distracted. He's got a chain around the neck of Raven.
Involved in Monsters Ball.
Oh, neck breaker with a chain. Runt slipped out. As if Samoa Joe needs help to beat Raven.
It's
Come on. And there we go.
Are you serious?
See, the thing that sucks... Oh, he's bleeding from the chain. The thing that sucks is, like, if you're leading to a Monsters Ball, this match being a DQ finish actually might have made sense.
He's not getting out of this.
No. Oh, there he goes. He's gone. Oh, he's tapping.
He actually
Raven.
Taps. Raven never taps.
Because, like, the Jarrett Hoyt thing should have just been a beatdown. And, the match never started.
Right.
This should have been a DQ because they're literally about to do a hardcore match. Why not build it up a little and, like, oh, shit, they're so violent.
I don't like how this was booked at all.
It was weird because Runt, like, choked out Raven.
Dude, Brother Runt is about to get murdered by Samoa Joe here. Oh, God. You know, Runt, why? You just slap Samoa Joe.
You can't be doing that. Oh, shit. Oh, shit.
Yeah, what are we doing? Yeah, he's just
Well,
getting...
just going. Picks up Runt, throws him to the floor.
Oh, no.
Oh, Raven caught him mostly, but Runt's face definitely hit the ramp. Ah, shit.
Oh, no. Why would you play the music? He snuck up from behind.
That actually is kind of funny.
Music.
Why is Samoa Joe going into Monsters Ball? I don't know.
That just seems like, hey, we don't know what to do with Samoa Joe, so we'll put him in the match.
Well, and honestly, I understand why you'd want to do a Monsters Ball for the first trip outside. I get that.
Right.
And I get why you wouldn't want to have it just be the same 3 who just fought in a 3-way match. So I guess that's kind of why, but it's weird.
You know, if Scott Steiner was still here, you could have just done Joe Steiner again.
Hey, you mentioned it.
Cornette's here. Give me the belt, Joe.
Scott Steiner isn't being used because of a contract dispute. Apparently, he balked over the new deals where the company books you independently and then pays you every quarter a lump sum from those shows.
Every quarter?
Yeah, so for independent shows, they must do like a big payout every quarter. That's kind of weird.
So he wouldn't get the money right then and there. I don't
Yes.
blame him for not liking that.
Yeah, so that's why we haven't seen Steiner.
Okay, that's fine.
Oh, okay. Hemi's like, hey, by the way, Team 3D is making their return soon.
And I bet you Scott Steiner is getting more money on his own than he would through TNA anyway, because they're taking a cut.
Right. Well, we're seeing a highlight thing too. So on Sting's contract in the same newsletter here, the management decision is to actually just offer Sting the same deal for 2007. So the ball's in his court essentially. But the expectations are that he'll stay with the company. It's a hefty price tag, but the feeling is having his star power on the roster will accelerate the hope for growth.
Could you imagine like being in a spot in your life where you could just casually decline $500,000?
No, I can't imagine it because that will never be me.
That'd be crazy.
Well, you know what? I was actually just thinking about the other day, like on the Major Pod, the Major Wrestling Figure podcast, like Cardona is like he grinds. That dude's doing indie shows every weekend. He's back on TNA now. He's fucking everywhere. Brian Myers, on the other hand, kind of only does TNA and doesn't do a lot of indies. He's like, I don't have to. And I think that's fucking awesome for him. But even essentially a mid-card WWE talent doesn't have to do independent shows to like live. I think that's awesome. Shows the difference in wrestling,
sure.
Look at this. Rhino just made a big announcement here.
You're looking at one guy that will be standing.
Sounded like it was what? Are we doing Last Man Standing with Christian and Rhino?
Well, judging by how he just worded that, yeah.
Here comes Brother Ray and Brother Devon, and Brother Ray looks worse than when he left.
Yeah.
Like, significantly?
Devon looks as shredded as ever.
He might even be looking a little thicker. He still looks good, but...
Yeah, he does.
You gotta check the traps.
Look at this guy. Jesus Christ. Devon's like, yo, give me the world title. Who needs Kurt Angle when you got me?
Their opponents, by the way, are Brandon Tomaselli and Von Doring.
Oh. Well, Tomaselli's an IWA Mid-South guy. So
I think that's the one in the ring currently.
That's correct. It's good to know that he's actually getting paid instead of Ian Rotten giving him a hot dog. So that's good.
Oof. The only title that's eluded him is the tag team titles here in TNA. That's not a fucking foreshadow. I don't know what is.
I know. And then, it's honestly surprising as all hell to me that they have not won the titles yet.
Well, of course.
Vaughn Doring.
You like how they said that?
Vaughn.
They just mentioned LAX on commentary a moment ago. I have a very brief Hernandez interview note, if I can find it. He did an interview with Alex Marvez, and he talked a lot about how much of Conan's shtick was from the heart. He kind of like beats around the bush a little bit, but basically some of it is and some of it's not.
I would say all of it is probably from the heart.
He also noted that he had kept his job at Office Max even when TNA rehired him because he was constantly worried that the whole thing would fall through. And he had noted that
Conan did?
No, Hernandez.
Oh, Hernandez.
And he noted that he had gotten Employee of the Month this past June. 3D!
You're telling me Hernandez has a job at Office Max still? And he was Employee of the Month in June?
Yeah.
Wow. I mean, that's great, but also wow.
But, like, you look at Hernandez and you think, Office Max Employee of the Month. That's my favorite part. Shout out to Hernandez, who pretty much likes every one of our posts over on our Instagram page at Cross the Line TNA, and so does Homicide. So if you guys aren't joining the fun over on our social pages, you got to follow us. Over on Twitter is the same handle as well.
I wonder if Office Max like gives off a plaque, and then I also wonder if Fernandez would still have that.
Maybe he went back to his roots and he's doing it again. And he's trying to get another trophy.
And you never know.
Team
he has
30,
a replica. He has the replica TNA tag title and an Office Max Employee of the Month on his show.
I love that. I love it. Team 3D, it was being the whole. In case you forgot who we are, that's my brother Devon, and I'm brother Ray. We are Team 3D.
Okay, so where were they for Brother Runt then?
Well, I think that this like return of just coming out for a match is like, yeah, dude. I'm sorry, Devon does not look as good as when he left.
You're right. I mean,
yeah,
okay.
It was the lighting when he came out. Oh, here we go. They left for a couple months to get refocused. I
think they were focused at the buffet line. I mean, what are we talking about?
Holy shit. But like the way they came back was like, oh, here they are. Not a run in to like get a pop or nothing.
Right.
You know what I was thinking when we were talking about our Big Four conversation earlier in the show, Bob? It's kind of interesting that we are not like, hey, Team 3D was a big signing.
Well, I wouldn't consider that, especially because of when we earn it, they're like the naturals now. When they came over, they hadn't done jack shit in WWE for like a year.
I know.
So there's no steam there, and this is a team that gets boring very quickly. So as soon as they win the tag titles, there's nothing else to do, nothing.
Do you consider the Dudleys one of the best tag teams of all time?
No. I do not. You tell me one of their best matches that doesn't include TLC. And you can't because it doesn't exist.
Yeah, that's awesome.
You know, people like to say that Razor Ramon or Shawn Michaels had a ladder match with the ladder. Like it wasn't really with Razor. The Dudley Boys had TLC matches, but it was basically Edge and Christian and the Hardys.
Shawn Michaels
tables, ladders, and chairs.
A ladder match with a ladder.
Yeah, like that's pretty much
fucking awesome, dude.
Oh, what is this? He's coming.
Oh, it's a Sting vignette.
I thought it was gonna be somebody else.
Well, if I knew we were gonna see this, I would have saved my Sting notes. I just assume at this point we don't see Sting unless it's a pay-per-view, so you just get him whenever you get him.
We just get him casually walking through a hallway.
And like a girl wearing a Sting mask. I guess it's more of a Bound for Glory promo than a Sting thing, but I love these kind of videos that TNA does. Oh, he's got a little color on the paint. Dude. Hell yeah. You see that?
I do.
Is that the first time he's ever... Well, since he's done Crow Sting, I should say. The first time he added color? Did he add it before?
I don't think in WCW. WCW, I think it was just black and white. When he was Crow.
Oh, there's like... it's green.
Yeah, it was like a green. Yeah.
Wow. Very different look for the Stinger.
I wonder if the green is for like Michigan. Although like Michigan's more like yellow.
Oh, look at, is that the same warehouse that the Kurt Angle vignette is filmed?
Oh, maybe.
They also did a Sting tape thing there? That'd be cool.
Did Sting know that Kurt was going to be in? He had to sign an NDA?
Actually, I think next week there might be a note about Sting and Kurt situation. Lex Luger is talking now for some reason. I support Sting so much. He's going to solitude for this.
Doesn't he look so much different from when we saw him 3 years ago?
It's the shirt.
He looks like a grandfather.
He was looking pretty old then too, dude.
Yeah, but he still was like jacked and like could move around. He does not look like that at all now.
He does look robotic.
Yeah.
And then they show Buff, who's fucking ripped still.
Yeah, Buff is like, yo, put me on fucking
Veins
TV,
popping out of his arms.
Yeah.
Marcus has got to go back home.
This is his grand return that no one's talking about.
Well, we saw him on Impact not long ago.
Yeah, right. But right here, he should be like, yo, I had to take 4 years off, but I'm back, baby. I'm Buff, and I'm the stuff.
You think they were like, you guys want to get paid like $250 to come in and do a fake press conference about Sting? We can't have Sting at it, but if you guys want to come.
I bet you that they were like, hey, you want to do this for like 500, and then maybe like we'll think about giving you a job. And Buff was probably like, I'm Buff, and I'm the stuff. I'm there.
Okay, we're back from commercial, and we have another
fucking
Lex Luger talking about Sting. I'm just going to tell you another note then. It keeps closing on me, though, so please hold.
Are Luger and Buff about to be in Sting's corner at Bound for Glory?
I bet you they are. Okay, I already told you that note about Steiner, so... Okay, there's been talk about putting Elix Skipper, Monty Brown, and Ron Killings together as a group called BET. It's not a Russo idea, but a Terry Taylor idea.
Black Entertainment?
That's not a good idea.
No, what the fuck? Number one, why would you do that when you have LAX? You'd be kind of marginalizing LAX by doing that.
Weird. And here's my final note during this interview or this segment here before our main event. TNA is supposed to get weekly TV on TV Azteca affiliate in Monterrey, building up to the November 25th show in Arena Monterrey. The decision hasn't been made whether it's going to be a pure TNA show or a TNA versus AAA show, but they're leaning toward the former. And I'm going to read about the matches after Eric Young talks to Jeff Jarrett backstage here. Tonight, I'm a man of second chances, Jarrett says. His patience is running thin with Jim Cornette. Eric still has dark hair, for the record.
And I don't know. I'm assuming the crowd can see this because they just kind of pop for Eric Young arriving on screen. That also can be done.
True. Oh, he's headed up to here with you. Tonight is your night for redemption. I want you to do whatever you have to do to get my belt back. I want you to walk up to Samoa Joe and slap the taste out of his mouth or steal out of his bag. Okay, so he's having Eric Young kind of be his like little minion. I don't think I can do that, Jeff. Jarrett says, I'll give you one last opportunity. Oh, he told him no, he's not going to get it back. I'll deal with you later. This smells like primetime Impact show match on the primetime special. Oh, JB's trying to give him a fist bump. Like, oh my God, he shook the fist bump.
Did he just realize he said no?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
The main event
Eric
is
Young. That might be good for prime time.
Yeah, right? Team number 1, Paparazzi. Okay, let me tell you these matches quick, and then I'm done. Basically they're hoping Angle can do the show, then do a pure TNA show. Sting turned down doing the date, so shocker apparently. But the preliminary card is listed as James Gang versus LAX, Petey Williams versus Chris Sabin, Abyss versus Ron Killings, Monty Brown versus Rhino, and Jeff Jarrett versus Christian versus AJ Styles versus Bobby Roode for the NWA title. Although the belief is that Jarrett won't be champion at the time, which is a major deal if Sting wins because he turned down the date. So yeah, pretty interesting.
That'd be interesting.
Senshi's coming out now to team with the Paparazzi in our main event.
All right, let me get these indie notes out of the way, I guess. Senshi recently won the IWC World Heavyweight title. In the semifinals on September 16th, Senshi defeated Hentai at Boiling Point 2. And then that same show, he lost. He lost to Ricky Reyes in the finals of a tournament for the vacant title. So Ricky Reyes won the IWC title there. Alex Shelley, of note, on September 16th, retained the NWA Midwest X Division Championship by defeating Chris Sabin. On the 22nd, the UWA Light Heavyweight title, Alex Shelley defeated Delirious to retain the title. And then, okay, so I got to do all these guys. Fudge. Sabin, Chris Sabin on September 22nd lost to Josh Prohibition at UWA Hardcore Maximum Carnage in Canada. Jay Lethal on September 22nd lost to John Walters for Big Time Wrestling in Massachusetts. And then Sonjay Dutt. He was involved in a 0G Crown 2006 tournament for IWA East Coast in West Virginia. The first round, he defeated Zach Vincent. In the semifinals, he defeated Aaron Draven. And in the finals, Sonjay Dutt defeated Ruckus in a ladder match to win the tournament.
Nice. Look, Shelley's trying to tag Senshi in, and he almost did not want to do it. Christian Cage, by the way, is on commentary talking about Rhino.
Is he saying it's like a street fight?
It sounds like it might be a street fight. I'll smash his face through this TV, beat him to a pulp. And here comes Rhino. See, I don't like when they do stuff like this, but Rhino just ran out to go after Christian Cage in the middle of this main event match. By the way, if you're following along, we are at 31:40 seconds. 31 minutes, that is. Back from commercial here. Senshi's in the ring still with Sonjay Dutt. Goes for the cover. Rhino being escorted out. Oh, he got through. Pulled Christian over the table.
It only took him a commercial break to do it.
Well, it's funny because I feel like that was one time where I could tell they put the commercial in, but like didn't technically lose any time.
Right.
Johnny Devine's now in the ring with Sonjay Dutt. Little snap suplex. Goes for the cover. Of course, that's a kick out of 2.
Oh my God.
Shelley teasing the tag with Sonjay Dutt. Jay Lethal's trying, but of course he stops. Rakes his boots across the eyes of Sonjay Dutt. Peanut butter Shelley time. Peanut butter Shelley time.
1, 2.
Divine's back in the ring now.
Sonjay kicking out of Divine. I just thought that Divine tagged in Chris Sabin for a minute, and then I realized it was Shelley.
No, unfortunately it's not. It's it's just Shelley. I mean, I like both, but speaking of rumors running crazy now, Bob, in current day, we are recording this on September 15th. A little peek behind the curtain. But high rumors that the Machine Guns are heading to the WWE.
Well, NXT. It's the developmental brain.
Yeah, I don't like that, but
I love how people just refuse to acknowledge that NXT is, in fact, a developmental. That's what it is.
Dude, they're going to be on CW.
It's development.
NXT is absolutely brutal to watch. I'm sorry if you enjoy it, if you're listening to this, but if you're listening to this, I feel like you might have some taste in wrestling, so you probably don't watch it. Oh, shit. Middle finger blurred out.
Oh, come on. Why are they censoring a middle finger?
I don't know. It's kind of weird, especially on Spike. Like
at 11 o'clock, or at this point, almost at midnight? Like, what are we doing? You can see a lot worse on Jerry Springer at 10 a.m.
Well, right. That and like when they play movies and stuff like that, there's worse shit happening too, I feel like, but whatever.
Yeah. Also, the show is TV 14.
There you go. Nice little insecurity by Dutt on Shelley. Match is kind of falling apart here, but Lands on his feet after looked like he was going for like a sliced bread number 2. Let's see, Senshi going after Sabin now. Irish whip in the corner. Another thing I wanted to mention quick, Bob, that is kind of irrelevant to anything, but it's current. You and I just attended AW's All Out.
That's right.
And saw a sick-ass cage match.
What the fuck is that? Is that a briefcase?
I don't want to know. I don't want to know. I don't want to know what's inside of that. And 3, Sabin gets the pin on Divine.
They're still doing the jackass thing.
Yep.
You can tell the crowd hates this.
You're making fucking the X Division a joke, dude.
Oh my god, they're like dead silent.
We're going to more press conference highlights about Bound for Glory. Okay, we're seeing a video package of LAX versus Daniels and Styles here too. He's so strong. But yes, lots of stuff happening current day. I don't want the machine guns to go on NXT, but it is what it is.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, I don't really care either way. But
it makes me
I don't
sad.
see how they fit in NXT. But
me either.
I saw somebody who was saying that AJ Styles had said that he wished he had gone to NXT for like 6 months or something to like kind of get the feel of how WWE does things, but I don't know.
Are you kidding?
That's what I saw. If it's on the internet, it's gotta be real.
Wait. Bound for Glory, tag team title match, LAX. Holy shit. Daniels and Styles against LAX, 6 sides of steel. I also want to point out, he just mentioned that in Mexico, there was an act of violence that LAX did against Styles. We covered that on our notes, but we never saw it on TV.
That's right.
So that is a huge match, dude. Up next, Jim Cornette's big announcement concerning Kurt Angle.
Cornette's announcement is going to be Kurt Angle's gonna be there. All right.
Who's in the ring here? Oh, Luger?
Luger and Bagwell?
Yeah. Weird, but okay.
Yeah, for Kurt Angle announcement, why would they be in there?
Let's welcome our special guests, wrestling legends, Buff Bagwell. And they're sitting in chairs, which feels very weird to me, too.
Bizarre. Also, Buff Bagwell is a wrestling legend. Seems a bit out of place.
Okay, I was sort of thinking that, too, but they're saying Sting is in the best shape of his career. The landscape of professional wrestling is going to change at Bound for Glory. Because in one of the biggest matches in TNA history, NWA Championship title versus career. Sting versus Jeff Jarrett. I truly believe that this is the night that Jeff Jarrett will lose.
I mean, you could just strip him of the title.
The whole world's been talking about TNA's newest acquisition. Angle.
What is it, Cornette?
Oh, special ringside enforcer, the Olympic gold medalist, Kurt Angle.
Wow. Very, very similar to how Bret Hart was introduced.
I was just thinking that. And on cue, Jeff Jarrett's music hits.
What are you talking about, Cornette? Enforcer my ass.
Who do you think you are?
He's gonna fucking hit Luger over the head with a chair shot.
Cornette, I told you at the top of the hour. I was gonna say the crowd's like booing him a lot, but if you actually, I feel like it's pretty piped in because no one is actually booing.
It's absolutely piped.
Normally it's not, I feel like, but if you notice, everyone's sitting there and they're booing.
Yeah, they're not. Yeah.
Oof. We're gonna have to do it the hard way. You want your belt back, and Samoa Joe told me a little bit earlier that if you want it back, then you got to come and get it from him. Yeah, but why? But why? Why does Samoa Joe have it?
Because he beat him. So now he's like the uncrowned champion.
Ugh. Blech.
Blech.
Ugh. I hate it.
Disgusting.
You're another
Ooh.
infinite authority figure, and then all of a sudden, you hear the sex theme song play, which I can't remember how it goes, but fuck you!
Fuck you!
Oh, Bagwell pulling Jarrett off of him.
Buff.
Who invited you to the party?
Lex, don't do it.
Lex can't do it, Bob. Don't worry, he can't. I'm about to uninvite you. Oh, shit. Luger takes a bump. Bagwell drops to a knee after a punch.
Oh my god, I can't believe he just knocked out Lex Luger with a punt. Buff, he's making the babyface comeback. Get a Buff. Oh,
Irish whip. Tosses Bagwell to the floor.
Oh, he might have just popped out his bicep or tricep.
Here comes Samoa Joe.
Shit, Samoa Joe. Samoa Joe making the save for Buff Bagwell in 2006. Who would have put that on the bingo card? Here we go. Get him.
Yeah, we're going off the air, though.
This is a bizarre way to close the show because then you're like, okay, so Jeff and Joe are going to. Okay. Well,
there we go. We go off the air.
Whatever.
All right, Bob. What did you think about that episode of
Impact? All right. So I liked the match announcements. I don't think I enjoyed the show, though.
Match-wise, it left a lot to be desired.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think I'm gonna go thumbs down.
Oof.
Yeah.
See, but I didn't hate it, so I'll go in the middle because it was definitely not that great.
Yeah.
But I didn't hate myself, so for me that'll be a thumbs in the middle kind of show.
Yeah, I mean it's got to be pretty bad for Dallas to give it a thumbs down. So
I mean it's true though. It's true. I hate to say it, but I need to be hating my life, and I'm exhausted right now, and I didn't hate that. So
yeah, that's good.
So to me, we're making moves, Bob, on the way to Bound for Glory.
Yeah, I mean they're shaping up the card pretty quick, which when you only have 4 weeks, I guess you probably have to. But
correct.
It's Bound for Glory is looking pretty freaking good to me. So
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah.
I do like how you said we're already starting to get matches. Now we can kind of enjoy the build for some of these over the next couple weeks instead of thinking what the heck's going to happen.
Well, and a lot of this build has been happening for months anyway.
Correct. And it makes sense.
Yeah. So I don't know if this is going to be a monumental thing, but if we see Kurt shortly before Bound for Glory, that would be, I guess, maybe interesting. I would hold off till the actual show, though.
I think you got to hold off. If I'm going to make some predictions here, quick. I think we are going to This is the crazier of the predictions. I think LAX is going to win back the tag team titles at Bound for Glory. I think. Let's see who just. Oh God, we just talked about it, and I can't remember who won. Did Christian just win?
Christian beat Rhino, yeah.
Rhino's definitely going to win in Detroit.
I would be really surprised by that. Rhino just comes across like the guy that is a name, but he'll always lose the match.
Yeah, but I don't know. I feel like he's going to win. If I think Sting and Jarrett is really going to depend on Sting's future. I think if Sting wins, he is going to stick around, and I think if Jarrett wins, I think we're going to pivot right again into a Samoa Joe thing, and I sort of feel like that's why we're doing what we're doing right now with Joe stealing the title.
I think that if Sting wins the title, he'll lose it to Christian in December.
Oh, wow. Wow.
That's what I think.
Interesting.
Or he'll even lose it to Christian on the primetime special.
Oh, wow. That'd be fucking wild. That'd be wild. The Monsters Ball, I feel like, has about zero implications to it. But, like, I don't think Samoa Joe's going to win. Like, I don't think he's going to get pinned, of course, but I think it's going to be, like, that's going to be, like, an Abyss thing or something.
You would think so, but...
Or, like, Runt gets, like, a big win or something. He pins
There's no way Brother Runt's winning that.
I'm shooting out ideas here.
There's just no way.
I think that's everything we know as of this moment, but I feel like this stuff makes sense. It's our first show on the road. Sting's putting color on his face paint. Are we going to see a new look for Sting at Bound for Glory?
Well, maybe.
I kind of like this idea. If he's going to freshen him up a little bit, I kind of like that.
Yeah.
I'm definitely looking forward to Bound for Glory. And in order to get there, we got to keep watching Impact.
That's right, folks. So join us next week as we inch closer and closer to Bound for Glory. So until then, for Dallas Gridley, I am Bob Colling Jr., and this has been the TNA Cross the Line podcast.
Good down, good down, good down. Good down, good down, good down. Watch out, watch out, watch out. Watch out, watch out, watch out. For the bomb fall. Watch out, watch out, watch out. Watch out, watch out, watch out. For the bomb fall. Watch out, watch out, watch out. Watch out, watch out, watch out, for the bomb fall! Watch out, watch out, watch out! Watch out, watch out, watch out, for the bomb fall! Watch out, watch out, watch out! Watch out, watch out, watch out, for the bomb fall! Watch out, watch out, watch out! Watch out, watch out, watch out, for the bomb fall! Watch out, watch out, watch out, for the bomb fall! Watch out, watch out, watch out! Watch out, watch out, watch out, for the bomb fall! Watch out, watch out, watch out, for the bomb fall! Watch out, watch out, watch out! Watch out, watch out, watch out, for the bomb fall! Watch out, watch out, watch out, for the bomb fall! Watch out, watch out, watch out! Watch out, watch out, watch out, for the bomb fall! Watch out, watch out, watch out! Watch out, watch out, watch out, for the bomb fall! Watch out, watch out, watch out! Watch out, watch out, watch out! Watch out, watch out, watch out, for the bomb fall!